Guys and girls, we're moving on with the caddy build. It's not a full build, it's a friend's van. We're doing a couple of jobs. We made the engine bay look pretty and shiny last video. Today, we need to get on with service the engine, service the gearbox, suspension kit, so there's plenty to do. Let's get into it. Before we get into servicing the engine and stripping any bits off, I just want to check, because we had in the last video multiple things unplugged on the engine and we had the ignition on, so I just want to check that there's no faults, make sure it's all tickety-boo. And that brings us to Kali, one of the newest forms of diagnostics for your vehicle. Not only does it come in some sleek little packaging, the actual unit is very pretty, nice ergonomic design, I might add. And we've got the app loaded onto my phone, and I have loaded this vehicle as a Volkswagen EOS because it has got the VW EOS V6 engine. This car or van has been apart in many ways, so there may be a few codes that are historic, some may be present, I'm not sure. So I'm going to read the whole van, clear them all, check them in a few days, and whatever pops back up, they obviously need addressing. But I am really impressed with the user interface of the app. It's really easy. I've loaded up the van and I've gone straight into a full scan. Now, we did come up with many faults for the whole vehicle, but we're just going to look at the engine for now. We scrolled through and we've got 4 codes for the engine, intake motor flap and a few other various pieces. I'm not sure if some of them were me or some of them were prior, but we've cleared those and we've got no engine light on. Happy days. It really is a handy little tool to have in the glove box to keep an eye on things. And if you upgrade to the yearly subscription, not only does it unlock all the other features, all the other vehicles and stuff like that, it does unlock many things that I'm pretty impressed with. We've got engine live data. You can check running temperatures, running pressures, stuff like that, DPFs, anything you might need to read live data for. One thing that I did stumble across, which I did like, was the used car mileage checker. It's basically a history check for your vehicle. I won't show you this vehicle because it's not mine, it's personal information, but I did load up my T5 Transporter and you'll see straight away, you can see the mileage history and the MOT history, they run in a nice curve. So it shows you that my van, the mileage is genuine. It shows you all the old MOT history, everything that was wrong on that MOT, if it passed or whether it failed. As we're going to service it, there is another feature in the app, and that's service and maintenance. We're obviously going to service it and reset the service light. It's as easy as clicking continue, continue again, and then check service details, and then it resets the service light. Easy as that. With the premium subscription, you also get the option to do coding. On the VW caddies, a lot of people upgrade to the later rear lights, and you need to do coding with that. Code in the rear lights, change percentages, so you literally code out the lights, code in what you want. It really is pretty simple. I am pleased to announce, if you go onto the Kali website and put in the voucher code Dtetv, you will get 15% off. Big thank you to Kali for supporting the channel and supporting automotive content on YouTube. Let's get on with doing the service and the suspension. Moving straight on with the service, I have just been round the block to warm it up. Literally around the block. The owner did say I could take it for a test drive. I said, my boy will like that. He said, you take your boy out. I said, I can't drive your motor, mate, it's yours. He said, no, you help yourself. He said, even if you crash it, I wouldn't moan at you. I'm like, what a nice guy. So I have just been out, drove it round the block lightly, and I tell you what, I'm going to take this for a test drive. Because we're fitting a suspension kit, I have to take it for a test drive. And you're not going to want to miss that. That is all I am saying. That would be at the end of this video. It is, as we're filming right now, Sunday the 14th at 8 PM. So if you guys are watching this on the Friday, the day it goes out, last Sunday there was a popular football game. Margate v Huddersfield or something? Just kidding, it's England playing. They're in the final. I don't know much about football, so I'm not going to stand here and start trying to sound like I know what I'm talking about, so I haven't got a clue. I don't watch football, I've just heard the whistle go. It's literally just started. My landlord's got a cabin over there. He's down here having a few beers watching the footy. He asked me if I was watching. I was like, no, I'm not. But all jokes aside, I'm not a football man. When it is England, you got to support your country, right? I'm proud to be British. Yeah. But the last couple of times they was in an important final or semi-quarter final, the second final, every time I've watched, they've lost. So I'm doing you guys at home a favour by not watching. Because this is then, and you're watching it in the future, if they win, come on England. If they don't win, let's get on with the oil. Enough chit chat about hooning vans, test driving vans slowly round the block, and football. This is an automotive channel. This sump plug is red hot. Red hot. Oil's hot. Burnies. Oh, I made a mess. In the last video, on the caddy, I mentioned that I was going to buy a new project. Oh yeah. Well, I did buy said project and I'm looking right at it. But you guys are going to have to wait. It is VW and it might be a van and it's not one that I've already got in my collection. So you guys try and work it out. We'll be going through that very soon. And I'm not starting it. If you've got loads of projects, loads of motors, don't do a little bit on all of them because you'll never get one done, says he, playing with a caddy and my T5 park right there. Right there, sounding from Yorkshire. Try to stick to one project. I'm not starting that, nearly told you what it is, until this is out of my life. Not that I'm minding working on this. Nice van, lovely. Sounds the absolute dog's danglies, and it's still got the cats and middle boxes in. We've got a Maxpeedingrods coilover kit. You guys already knew that. And it is a bit low. This is an absolute nightmare to get on the ramp. Ow. This is, I need my hat. I'll get my hat. This is a nightmare to get on the ramp. Literally, it's bad. Going out of my estate, it's a nightmare. And I think the owner wants it a little bit higher. Well, the Maxpeedingrods coilover kit, same as on my caddy, mine are on their lowest setting and mine are quite a bit higher than this. So I'm hoping that the Maxpeedingrods coilover kit isn't too high for Darren or the owner, because this does look sat on the deck, but it is a bit annoying. It's too low for me, basically. And he did say he wants it a bit higher. Oil filters right there, awesome, happy days, that's nice and easy. And we are doing a gearbox service, and that is definitely hot too. I'm going to drain the fluids out. I'm just stood here waffling on while footy's playing. Do I get it up on my phone? I'm not going to watch, because every time I watch they lose. I'm not watching. Maybe by the end of this video, yes, because this video is going to roll on to tomorrow for me. So we'll talk about this then. I'm going to get these fluids out. It is gone 8 PM on a Sunday. You guys are all sat at home, drinking beers, watching the footy, oh yeah. I'm in my workshop getting dirty. But this, there's nothing else in the world I'd rather be doing. There's nowhere else in the world I'd rather be. So I'm happy. Don't feel sorry for me, I'm happy. But we're just draining fluids. So let's skip till something a bit more interesting happens. Like England winning footy. I swear down, I didn't watch. I know a lot of you are passionate about your football, so we won't talk any more on the situation. We got the oil drained out last night, and then I put the sump plug back in, taking the sump plug out again, and that is getting all the drips and the drags out of the gearbox. Now, I just thought I'll quickly run through what's involved in a DSG gear oil change, because some of you may want to know, may be interested. First of all, take out the sump plug. nice and easy, 14mm hex. Wait for that to stop dripping, stop draining. Then inside there, on this vehicle, there is a plastic level tube. Now that tube is your level tube. That goes in the drain hole. Once you've pulled that out and let it drain for as long as you can be bothered to let it drain, we left this one overnight. You don't want to tighten it up. I have just ever so slightly nipped that. And I mean nipped. I'm not hanging off it, I'm not breaking it. Level tube is back in there. I am going to leave the plug out, but I have got a filling device. There is a handful, a few, many different ways you can fill the gearbox up. We have got a plastic adapter thing, a quick release fitting and a pump bottle. We've got the adapter that goes in the drain plug, which is also the fill plug. That's finger tight, snugged up. We can move you out the way. He's on, and I have ordered, or I have got, 6 litres of a Febi Bilstein, it's a good brand, 6 litres of oil and the filter, and we have got a 2.5 litre pump bottle, so I need to get 5.5 litres in the gearbox, and then we'll talk about what you need to do to make it so it's the right level. But I'm going to get this pumping, and then I'm going to drop it down while it's pumping and filling, and look at the filter. We've got the airbox out, and right underneath that is a oil filter housing. Looks like any normal filter housing, and I did pull this out first. Any fluid that's in the filter housing is going to drain to the bottom when you undo it. So the very first thing I'd done was undo the oil filter housing, and then I did get some tissue to get the residue in the bottom, because it does hold a mouthful. I wanted it as clean as possible in there. We're doing a proper job. I have also got a Febi Bilstein oil filter, and it does come with a new O-ring. Now with the O-ring, on any oil filter housing this is, let's save some time, you're on the floor, we will get that later. You're going to run the oil filter O-ring on, and you might roll it down the thread. But if you just roll it down the thread, that twists the O-ring, and I don't like them sitting twisted up. So I'll run my finger around it, and that untwists it. We have a fresh Febi Bilstein filter. I'm going to push him in. He snaps into place. Oil filter housing back on. And there's obviously a torque setting for these, wherever the 24mm is. Have I used it? Yes, I did use it. I used it for the drive shaft bolts, because I have already started attacking the suspension, but we shall talk about that after I've finished the service. Torque specs, I don't know, I have got a torque wrench, but I'm not going to use one. If you're unsure, use one. So it's gone to a stop, and I'm just going to give it another little doing up. Now that is the oil filter, all done, super simple. Some people worry about doing an oil and filter on a DSG, but they're nice and easy. Oil filter's done. I am going to go back up with the vehicle and get the 5.5 litres, as required, in through the bottom. 5.5 litres of gear oil in there, and I do still have the pump bottle attached underneath. But before we can run it, because we need to run it up to temperature, and that sets the level with the gearbox. Now, I have got the finest of fully synthetic oil for the engine. I am not an oil snob. If it's oil, get it in there. But this is a very nice vehicle, so it deserves the finest fully synthetic. Going to get some engine oil in there. The gear oil is full. Again, I do still have the gear oil filler pump bottle attached. Going to run it up to temperature, and it says in the manual you need to get the gear oil between 45 and 55 degrees to set the level. If you don't have a diagnostic machine to check it, a rule of thumb I've found in the past, as soon as the engine gets to 90 degrees on the display inside, turn it off then, and the gearbox or the oil is normally at around the right temperature. So run the engine up to temperature. As soon as it gets to 90, the gear oil is about spot on the right temperature. Let me get this oil in and I'll show you how to set the level of the gearbox. We're just bringing the oil up to temperature, and I do have a plug-in to tell me the temperature, and I've also got a heat thing. I'll show you, it's the most basic way of doing it. And while it's warming up, DSG, you need to run it through the gears so the fresh oil gets through all the right passages, crevasses. We're in reverse, the speedo's gone up, we've got the wheels off, and because the brake discs don't have any retainer screws, I have got a wheel nut and a big bolt holding the discs nice and square, because we don't want them flapping all over the shop. You're meant to do it for about 30 seconds, a minute per gear. That's reverse. And drive. Oh yeah. I also am going to go through the flappy paddle. She's got flappy paddles, so I'm going to bang it through the gears. Not literally, we're going through the gears just to make sure there's fluid in all the gears. We're close to it being warmed up, and by the time I've turned it off and the heat soakers run through it, that should be it. Let's see how the level is. So it's up to 90 on the temperature gauge on the engine, and we have just got a very basic heat temperature gauge Dewberry Firkin, and that is reading 47, 46, 47. As I say, the specs are 45 to 55. And this is where you might think you're doing it wrong if you didn't know, but you do it with the engine running. I have still got the pump bottle connected, and I'm just going to let it overflow because we've got the overflow tube still inside. Now it's overflowing any excess over the tube while it's running at a certain temperature, and from memory serves me right, about half a litre comes out, maybe a little more. Then once it's slowed down, I will take the tube out and just catch the excess in an oil catch can. And when do you put the drain plug back in? When it's slowed up. You don't wait till it's completely stopped, because you set the level with it running. If you just left it draining until it stops running completely, oil gets splattered out. So you do it till it nearly stops. And you can see we've got air bubbles, so we're almost at the correct level. We've got that out. Again, if you waited until it completely stops running, you would not have enough gear oil in there, because it's running, splashing it all around. Now it's dripping. I'm happy with that. That is a 14mm hex bit. I'm going to snug that up to torque, or till the elbow starts popping, and that'd be good. We're done with the service. Let's have a look at the suspension. We are moving on to the suspension. I have got the wipers, the scuttle panel, and the plastic or the metal trim, sorry, and then the wiper motor out. We've got some coverings. I don't want to be scratching everything. And while it's apart, I mentioned in the last video, I'm going to gloss black his wiper arms, and the metal plate that goes around the back of the engine looks prettier, nice and clean. Let's have a little look at what we've got As you guys know, if you've seen previous videos, I don't mind a bit of Maxpeedingrod suspension. I've got them on my caddy and I've also got them on my T5 and I have got zero complaints. We have removed the old suspension, stance coilover kit, doesn't look too bad, looks a bit old and tired, so we wanted a fresh set. I have gone and got some new top mounts. I could hear, when I drove it, a little bit of squeaking, little bit of noise from the top mounts on the old ones. They're not the newest, they're not the oldest, but we've got fresh ones. We haven't got Euro's Starline Finest. We've got GSF Monroe ones, 16 plus the VAT each, new pair going on, happy days. The coilover kit, it is a budget, cheap, friendly kit. Now, if you're interested in a Maxpeedingrods coilover kit, go on the website, type in Dtetv and you get 10% off. And it is a pretty full kit. Front shocks, front springs, rear springs, a fitting kit, and I believe that is an axle flip mounting Dewberry Firkin. I've never used it, don't know how it works. We don't use that. This has already had the axle flip, so we don't need that. And yeah, pretty nice kit for the money. We've got it all stripped out, and you might think, why has he stripped the whole hub assembly off to do the shock absorbers? Well, you can lower the hub, get a scaff bar, start graunching everything down, binding up on the CV boot, stretching all the hoses. Well, I don't like doing that. I wouldn't do it on my motor, and I'm definitely not going to do it on a fresh spankily motor like this. So I do drop the whole hub assembly. That way there's no graunching, there's no binding of any hoses. It only takes an extra 10 minutes. We've stripped it all down. I have also got my nuts and bolts lined up as a nice collection. Rather than tripping over them, not knowing what goes where, they're going back on in the order I took them off. And you'll see my pinch bolt that normally go rusty, I have wire wheeled it and copper greased it. That way it doesn't rust, it doesn't stick, it's just a bit nicer if you ever have to take it apart again. Let me get these coilovers on. This isn't a how-to on fitting a coilover kit. There is plenty of other videos on the channel about fitting them. Let's just get these on and see how low it is. I will be giving his calipers and his massive brakes a good clean up when they all back together. Front coilover setup's all done. We've gone in for the lowest setting, and as I normally do, I put some copper grease around the threads on the coilovers. We don't want them seizing up. They would have been nice if the springs were red, but you can't see. I don't mind the anodised orange or anodised gold and orange. I still need to give it a bit of a clean up in there, and that is the bolt and nut I mentioned when doing the gear oil service to stop the disc flinging off. We got the rear shocks off. They were stance. They've started to corrode. There is a bit of misting of oil. Don't know if they were failing, but we've got some new ones to go on. Nut and bolt at the top, nut and bolt at the bottom. Simple stuff. Back on all fours. We still need to bar the wheels up. Won't forget that. And the customer mentioned when he dropped it off that there's a rattle under his dash, an annoying one. And I have driven it, and he is right. But as soon as I heard it, I knew exactly what it was. But I was quiet and confident, and the ECU lives under here. The back bracket isn't in its little house. So I'm going to unbolt the ECU, drop the front down, slide it in the back, bolt it back up. And if because it's from an EOS it doesn't fit, I'll make it fit. Just as suspected, it just wasn't in the back locator. I dropped the bolts down, got it in there, snug, solid. And I'm gingerly working around it because we don't want to get anything, we don't want to chip anything. So normally you might lean on stuff. Well, I can't lean on stuff because it's all pretty and shiny. We are missing the headlight pieces. If you watch the last video, you'll understand. Sandblasting them, painting them gloss black. I haven't put the wiper motor assembly or the wiper arms back on because this panel that sits here and the wiper arms are getting painted gloss black. But it's not raining, it's not going anywhere. Check the oil one last time. I have checked it twice already, but we've run it up to temperature and then let it cool down a bit. We're on a relatively level ground because it's up on the ramp. I need to add a skosh. Add some oil, bar the wheels up, let's go hooning. Back on all fours, we've got the wheels barred up, it's up to temperature, and with the suspension, it is a skosh higher. It's not too high, I was a bit concerned about that. It is the perfect height. We've got a similar gap from the front to the back, and we haven't driven it yet, so it might settle a little bit, but it was an absolute nightmare because it was so low. It did look good, but it was a nightmare. We're going to test drive it. We've got Andy coming along for the test drive. We'll get his reaction. Yeah, it is looking sweet. We need to get another badge, but let's test drive it. We got Andy. How's it going, mate?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. So we haven't got the wipers on, and you might have noticed in that little last shot, I haven't put his centre caps back on. They are 400 quid a piece. So I'll put them on after. And yeah, we haven't got the wipers on, and it's just started spitting. Typical. There is a few squeaky things in the back. He's got a spare wheel. He's that posh. He's got a spare 20-inch Bentley rim with a centre cap.
Of course, it goes down there well.
Yeah, so before it was an absolute nightmare. We're on a bumpy estate and it was terrible.
Yeah, I've been in here before when it had its original suspension, and this is amazing.
Yeah, Maxpeedingrods coilovers, I'm impressed with them so far. Got them on both my T5 and my caddy. So we're just in drive. I'm not even in sport. And he did say, when I take it out, that spare wheel is killing my life off. You can't hear it when you're on the road. He did say to put it in old flappy paddle mode, because it's got the flappy paddle. Bah, bah, bah. So we'll give that a try. It did used to scrape out over this speed bump, the sidebars. Still, there was a little scrape. I don't think it's the sidebars actually, I think it's the mud flaps behind the front wheels.
Yeah.
So the suspension is definitely higher, and it's still scrubbed a little bit. Just goes to show how low it was. It's a really nice place to be here, and I've already let the temperature warm up. I've just done the wipers, they're not attached. Hopefully it don't start hammering it down, so we may have to abort. Let's do the window up a little bit. Loads of traffic. He sounds good.
It does sound good,
Hopefully you can hear the sound. Let's open the window back up. Sounds good, right?
It sounds sick.
It's really nice to drive this. We're obviously on public roads, so I can't hoon it too much. And it's not mine. So we're doing 30. So that's drive mode. Let's try paddle mode. It's telling me we're in 4th. Is it this one? Oh yeah. One more. That sounds sick.
Oh my god, that is amazing.
Bits of plastic in it. Can you reach that? Stick it near your feet. Third, second. Oh, it does downshift itself when needed. I'm just going to stay on the power and bang through it. Oh my god!
Darren, you are a lucky man.
That is sick. I've got my foot on the throttle, a little down gear. is pretty sweet, right?
The changes are quick as well, aren't they?
They are. And you can just stay on it.
Brilliant.
Yeah, that is sick. Oh wait, should I turn traction control off and all? Oh yeah. This is a hooligan mobile.
It is.
So it does drop itself back down the gears first. Oh, what? Nice indicator at the last minute.
Yeah, she's getting lots of notice.
Everyone looks. The way it bangs through the gears, it's like a supercar.
It is, isn't it?
Oh, mate.
Impressive.
So not only does it drive really nice on the new suspension, I haven't ground out once. The roads are quite bad. The noise of the exhaust, the flappy paddle,
It's outstanding.
it all adds, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's really nice. Suspension is so much better.
It is better. The squeaky wheel in the back is lying. It's not as bouncy as it sounds.
Yeah.
So it is raining a bit more. Yeah, lovely. No warning lights on the dash. Let's do the window up. Windscreen is definitely wet. That wheel is squeaking. It's absolute nut off. I'm going to see if I can bolt that up tighter for a minute. That's the spare. It's not one of the outside wheels. There is another video to come on this, and we are going to do some interior bits. I'm not 100% sure yet. Oh yeah. We're going to do an outro from the van. Service, suspension, ticked off the list. Hopefully the owner's happy. Again, he hasn't heard or had any updates. He's watching it when you guys are right now. So, I'll see you in the next one. From me and Andy, we're out.
That is mind blowing.
It's good, isn't it?
Oh my god.